Hello to all, and after a short break, welcome back to The Leadcast, Real Leaders, Real Talk. In the last episode, we all got the chance to listen to Angelina Maddie talk about her amazing experiences as a student and athlete who loves to serve her community. On today's episode, though, we have Mr. Klein, one of our chemistry teachers here at IA East, here to talk about his experiences. Hey, Mr. Klein.
Hi, guys. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much for extending the opportunity.
Of course. So to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and just your hobbies?
Absolutely. So homegrown here in Michigan. I grew up in Farmington Hills. After that, I went to North Farmington High School. I went all the way through Farmington Public Schools. I went to Michigan State after that. I ended up graduating with a degree in chemistry from there, and then went back and got my master's in education from Michigan State as well. Hobbies outside of school, I'm a very video game based person. I also love myself some superhero movies. Marvel's one of my biggest things. Pokemon is one of them. Shoes is a big fascination for me in my life. I love to collect some shoes. And then sports is a big part of my life as well.
Wow, that's really cool. So how did you end up choosing your career as a teacher, or specifically a chemistry teacher?
Absolutely. So I ended up in one of the most wind-about ways in teaching. When I was leaving high school, had you asked little Toby Klein at that time what they wanted to do, I would have told you I wanted to be an open heart surgeon. And I was very dead set on that. My dad had open heart surgery when I was younger, and I felt like the doctor saved his life. And I wanted to pay that forward and be the kind of person that saved other people's lives. And I stuck with that through the majority of college. I was taking all of my pre-med classes, a lot of biology, physics, chemistry, all of that good stuff. And I was enjoying the classes. But during the summers, every single year after I graduated high school, I was working at a summer camp. And shout out Willoway. It was a great camp. If you're ever looking for a place to go for summer, it's a great place. It was awesome. It was probably my fourth year there. I remember a vivid memory of like looking around one day and just the biggest smile was on my face. And it clicked with me like, oh my God, my passion in life is working with kids. And so chemistry kind of came after the fact of that. Like I decided I wanted to go into teaching. It was right before my senior year at college, which is like, if you ask anybody, that's the like, don't change your major zone, right? So I walked into my advisor's office and I was like, all right, I need to change. Like I don't want to go into the field of medicine. I think that's what's going to make me happy is teaching. And I asked them for the advice. So like definitely talk to your counselors. They're great. They gave me the best advice of, hey, chemistry, you've taken a bunch of classes throughout. Like, do you feel comfortable you'd be able to teach that? And I was like, yeah, I really enjoy chemistry. It was cool. I think I'd be able to articulate this. But it was really, I went into teaching for a passion of when I'm in here and I'm helping students out and seeing those aha moments is the best part of my day. It's the best thing I can ever hear as a teacher.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I feel like as a student, I go through a lot of those moments as well, especially also in chemistry. Like, all my other classmates, they're always like, some of them are struggling, some of them aren't. But like when you go into the class and you see people realize that they actually get it, I feel like I agree with you.
Absolutely.
And adding on to that, what was your favorite memory from school?
Oh my gosh. All right, so the first thing that popped into my head, obviously I have so many favorite memories of all of my schooling, was probably my high school chemistry teacher, Miss Zaggety. She was an absolute queen, and I feel like the biggest thing that she was great at was just showing cool chemical reactions. Like, the work on paper is one thing. Like, sure, it might be interesting to some students. It might be interesting, not so interesting to the others. But seeing a chemical reaction that changes color in front of your eyes in a split second, or maybe catches on fire, that was really what hooked me into the field of chemistry. I was like, I want to be the person that's showing these amazing things to students to hopefully have them fall in love with chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, even in your class, like in your chemistry class, your kabooms are so cool to watch.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, they're really cool.
One of my favorite parts of this job.
And when we come to talk about chemistry, in a classroom setting, a lot of people don't see teachers as leaders, but they really are. So how do you see leadership in your classroom?
Absolutely. So, I mean, going into teaching, you're the only adult in the room, right? So it kind of works like a play. Like, you are the lead director and you are trying to get all of your actors to play perfectly. And the wonderful thing about teaching is that it never happens perfectly. It never goes exactly like how you plan. So it's a little bit of an improv act up there. I feel like one of the biggest things that I strive for in my career is building my relationships with the students. For me, that comes in the form of Mr. Klein's random question of the day. I'm always talking to you guys about if you could have a ticket to any historical event, what would you like to go to? Or what color do you think history is in your head? And I feel like through these processes, I'm able to get to know my students a little bit better, not just as these chemists that are opening their textbook and meshing around with the periodic table, but I really get to see them as people more so, and I hope that it's reciprocated the other way. If they get to see me not as just this outstanding teacher in front of them, sophisticated, but then I'm a human at the end of the day, and I feel like those connections is really how I show my leadership in the classroom.
Yeah, I feel like building connections and building that trust within a student and teacher is a leadership quality, so that's
100%.
amazing. And how do you motivate your students who feel like chemistry really isn't their thing?
Absolutely. I feel like that's very apparent at the sophomore, the MYP level. It's a state of Michigan requirement to take chemistry for every single student in the state. And what I really have realized the longer I've been teaching is that there's going to be some students that fall in love with chemistry. This is going to be their thing. And then there's going to be another faction of students that are like, pulling out their hair. They're like, I don't understand the periodic table, and it's difficult. It really is. And I remember so many times in my own schooling when I was learning concepts like balancing chemical reactions. It's tough stuff. And it doesn't just click for everybody. But what I've really been able to level with students is the fact of persistence, right? I believe that chemistry, although it is difficult, it's attainable for students. The more you're practicing the problems at home, the easier it usually becomes. And one of my best things that I like to offer those students that are doing all the practice at home, they're doing all their homework, and it's just not clicking with them, is my office hours that I satirically call the chem party, because we have an absolute blast in there. I am very much willing to sit down with any of my students, doesn't matter what grade they are in or what grade they currently have in the class. I'm willing to take as much time as it is because, like I said before, my favorite part of every day is seeing that kid that maybe was struggling and they're trying to attack the problem and it's not making sense. And then you can kind of see the gears turning in their head. The spark flies in their eyes and you see that, oh my gosh moment. That's the best part of my day. This is why I do this.
Wow, that's really cool. And when we talk about chemistry, but as a person, what is one life skill that you hope students will learn from you, just besides you teaching chemistry?
Absolutely. So I think chemistry really for me is it's an analogy just for life, that there's going to be so many obstacles that are going to be difficult in life. And I hope that the problem solving that we teach through the processes in chemistry and that resilience that students have to find throughout chemistry, I'm hoping that those are the two biggest skills that translate into the rest of life. Because there's going to be so many days where you're thrown a problem just on a whim. And you're like, oh my gosh, I have no clue how to solve this. I have no clue what to do in this scenario. But I hope that those skills that you learned here in chemistry have started to develop your prefrontal cortex so your problem solving is just sharp as heck.
Wow. Those are amazing skills that even, I didn't think you could possibly get those out of chemistry before that. That's really cool. So since you also coach football at Troy High, could you tell us a little bit about that too and how you got into that?
Absolutely. So this is my first full year under my belt over at Troy High. I really, outside of college, right when I graduated, I did my student teaching at Walled Lake Northern. And while I was there, it was during the COVID year, 2020. We were kind of asynchronous, kind of hybrid at the time. And there were rumors that sports were starting back up, but we didn't know what they were going to look like. So I did my first year coaching out in Walled Lake, and all of the boys were full masks up underneath the helmets, which was a crazy sight. I coached out there for 2 full seasons out of my student teaching, and then I kind of pumped the brakes for a little bit. I was like, I'm taking the job at the IA. I want to make sure that I fully am able to teach this curriculum successfully. And so I took a break from coaching for a little while. And during that time, I went back and got my master's through Michigan State for Education. And I finished my master's, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, I have a lot of time in my life right now. I want to fill this with a hobby that I really thoroughly enjoy. And I landed on football. I saw the posting on our district website last year around probably March. I started going to before school practices over at Troy High, and I really just fell in love with coaching again. And that's one of my favorite parts in life, even if I'm going to Troy High at 6:30 in the morning just to throw footballs around with the kids.
Wow, that's really cool. And when you deal with players and athletes who come to you to ask you for help or anything, how do you deal with some of the athletes who aren't that easy to deal with? Because you always have to deal with people who, you know, you don't get along with really well or things like that. How do you tackle that?
Absolutely. So I think that one of the biggest things that I've learned in life is that you're always going to be thrown difficult situations. You might end up working in a group project with people that just are not your cup of tea. You don't get along with them. You don't mesh with them. And I feel like always being able to take that step back and say, I don't know what's going on in somebody's life. I don't know what their home life looks like. I don't know what situations they've been through that have gotten them to this point in their life. And just having a clean slate with every single person that you talk to, because you don't know what they're dealing with. And so trying to be kind of a ray of sunshine and an uplifting person is something that I strive myself towards. So no matter how bad of a day somebody's having, I hope that I brighten it up just a little bit.
Wow, I think that's amazing advice, because having a clean slate, I feel like so many people have like grudges or like things that they just little things that they keep that,
Absolutely.
you know, but like as a leader, I feel like every single time you talk to a person, you need to like think about what you're here for
100%.
and what your goal is, basically.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing advice though.
Thank you.
And now, being a leader on the field and in a classroom, what similarities have you noticed and how similarly have you approached them?
Oh my gosh. I feel like the number one thing that makes you a successful teacher and a successful coach is organization. Like having a plan going into a practice or having a plan going into the class of like, I want to do this activity, then I want to do this activity, we're going to break for the lab, and I'm going to get you on your feet so that you're just not hitting a wall mentally. Then you're coming back into the class and we're changing our activities. Keeping them short, segmented. A lot of teachers call it chunking, of making sure that the kids aren't just sitting there for like 45 minutes balancing chemical equations, because at some point you can only do so much. And the same with football. You have to do short drills, keeping the kids moving, keeping them engaged. I tend to see the most successfulness out of that.
Wow, that's really cool. And just a fun little question, but if you had like infinite budget on you, what would you add to your classroom or like the lab to have some fun with?
All right, first thing that came to mind for my classroom comes from my first year teaching. A student gave me a Pokemon plushie, and I love Pokemon, so this kid really knew me well. And oftentimes throughout like the holidays, I'll get kids that'll hand me a Target gift card or an Amazon gift card or something, which is super generous, and I'm never expecting that. And my immediate reaction whenever I'm handed those kinds of things is I want to reinvest in my classroom. So in all of my classrooms that I teach over here at the IA, which is 4 different classrooms, I have a massive supply of Pokemon plushies. So if you gave me an unlimited budget right now, I would probably buy every single first generation Pokemon plushie, and they would be everywhere in the classroom. I would be the happiest teacher in the world.
Oh my gosh, I thought you would say like shoes, because your shoes collection.
Oh,
my gosh.
absolutely. Right? If it was personal and it wasn't going to the classroom, 100% I'm buying a lot of Jordan 1s. Don't get me wrong.
Or I thought you would say like a little bit of Francium here and there.
A little bit of Francie. I don't know if the school would stand after that. But,
But also, what advice do you have for high school students, just in general, who are just trying to get through?
oh my gosh. I feel one of the best things that I was told throughout my life came from my dad, and it's something that's called the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds in life tells us that a third of your days on this earth are going to be fantastic. They're amazing. You came home and you're like, this is the best day ever. A third of your days are not going to be great. You're going to come home and you're going to be like, ugh, this day was kind of terrible. Like, I don't like the things that I did. I don't like the interactions that I had. And a third of your days are just going to be kind of meh. You're going to come home and you're going to be like, that was just kind of a day. And I feel like being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, we're a third of my days bad. We're a third of my days meh. And I feel like those bad days and those meh days make you appreciate the good days even more so. And I've always left that as a testament to my own life, to look myself in the mirror. And if I'm out of balance on those thirds, like I'm not having great days a third of the time, I like to change something in my life. I like to maybe pick up a new activity, maybe get rid of something that I'm doing that I don't get enjoyment out of, maybe watch a new TV show, watch a new movie, go to a new place to meet people, to try and get myself back into that balance of not every day on earth is intended to be the most amazing day ever, like we see in Phineas and Ferb over the summer. They're having great days, but a third of our days are just kind of going to be days.
Yeah. Earlier, we talked about your organizational skills, and we talked about how you organize plans for on the field and in the classroom. So what types of things do you use to organize your plans or anything?
Absolutely. So I feel like I am very in the Gen Z boat of with my football practices. Most of my notes go down into my notes app. I definitely put a lot of things of practice plans or new plays that I want to install into the notes app. Here at school, I feel like I'm more into the laptop in front of me. I'm working through a Google Doc. I'm getting myself ready, and then I can pull worksheets, attach them to that. So I feel like a lot of these electronic devices make our planning so much easier than just writing down on paper and then your dog eats your paper.
Yeah. What do you have to say about, like, I know it's super controversial, but like a lot of people depend more on handwritten planners or just physical like checklists, or they depend on their technology with like calendars or like notes. So how would you do you use both or like?
Yeah, I feel like throughout my life I've used both. Definitely when I was in high school, I was a very big into the calendar, into the planner sort of person of like, I have a test this day, I have to have this homework assignment back in. But as I've translated more into adulthood, I've definitely moved into the more technology-wise. There's definitely some sort of instances that I'm definitely still on paper of, like, if I have a wedding invite that was sent to me, I'm going to definitely paper organize that and all that stuff. I personally don't think you can go wrong with either one, as long as a person, I don't want to say a student because this is applicable to all people, as long as you're on top of it and you're keeping organization, you're not sleeping through meetings or any of that kind of stuff, I don't think there's a way that you can go wrong either way.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, since we are nearing the end of our episode today, I want to congratulate you on surviving the LeadCast hot seat.
Thank you.
And lastly, every guest finishes with the sentence, leadership means blank to them. So how would you answer this question?
That's such a good question. Leadership means doing the right thing even when nobody's looking.
Wow, that's really cool. Could you explain why you said that?
Absolutely. I feel like it's easy to be a leader when the spotlight's on you. When people are paying attention to you, maybe it's in the classroom when you're having your hand up, or you're trying to get your group members back on task for a group project. It's easy to be a leader in those moments. The moments when nobody's watching you, like an adult or an authority figure, doing the right thing sometimes can be difficult. But I think that a true leader is able to compartmentalize, to do the right thing, even when nobody is watching them.
Wow, that's an amazing answer. Wow.
Thank you.
Every guest just says something new every single time, and I think the perspectives are just so amazing.
Thank you.
But yeah. And if you thought today's guest was amazing, wait till you hear who's up next. I want to thank Mr. Klein for sharing his experiences on and off the field today, and our listeners for tuning in. Make sure to tune in monthly and listen to the LeadCast. Real leaders, real talk. Thank you, Mr. Klein.
Thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, share on all the platforms. Do everything.